Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal, where we invite you to explore the heart and soul of our company, Keevy Brothers Trucking. Through engaging storytelling, insightful market updates, and vibrant energy, our podcast reflects our culture, values, and achievements. Whether you're a team member or industry enthusiast, join us to build connections, foster growth, and inspire excellence. Discover why we're more than just a company. We're a community, a catalyst for positive change, and a home for those aspiring to be part of something extraordinary. The pre-trip is complete and engines ready. We're set to hit the road on the Keep Trucking Personal podcast. Let's go.
Hey, welcome back to Keep Trucking Personal. My name is Tyler Keevy, and I'm your host. Today, we have Derek Keevy, our CEO, not only our CEO, but my brother, on as our guest to this episode. And before we dive into asking him all kinds of questions and what our main topic is, and Derek, feel free to jump in on any of these, but I kind of wanted to dive through some housekeeping things regarding trucking and specifically the season we're in. And first is tire chain season is here. September 1st, Colorado, west of Denver on 70, which is kind of our primary, if we are going to be in Colorado, most likely traveling, west that direction on the west side of Denver, tire chains are required. And it seems like it's a several year battle that we've went through, making sure all of our trucks are equipped with it. And for the most part, all of our trucks should be already established for this type of season, right, Derek? Like if you had to assume everything we've spec'd and all the setting up, we're ready to go.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work to, put tire chain hangers on the trucks. For the most part, every truck typically that I see, there's chains hanging on it, whether it's summertime or whenever the case may be, just for that reason, because otherwise come this time of year, it's just a free for all. And not to mention, we have tire chains all over the place, and tire chains, if anybody's very familiar with them, once they've been hanging on the side of a truck, it's a big rust pile. We still have pallets of tire chains piled up in the building that just haven't been issued, whether excess or whatever the case may be. But pretty much every truck that I've seen, they typically have them hanging on the side of the truck.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. I mean, that's been a several year battle that we've been focusing on, because we used to not have tire chain hangers on the trucks, and it was always keep them in your headache rack. And when the time came to need tire chains, it was like, oh, they're not in there, or some reason they exited the truck, and now we are outfitted with them. But if for some reason you do not have tire chains, or doing a quick check, walk around your truck, something's, you're not fully equipped with all the chains, get with your driver specialist or fleet. And let's make sure that we get you prepared before you're in that area, because it's required. It's the law. It's not just optional. That's the first one. Second, I wanted to just kind of give kudos to our driver specialist and our customer service representative team. They are kicking butt, and our month of August was an amazing transition to watch how hard the CSRs, the driver specialists, and the drivers did collectively. And they put together a heck of a month, and it's super fun to watch those teams deliver, and they're doing it, and it's exciting. And so I wanted to give kudos to that. And this all is kind of a kickoff to this whole season here, tire chain season or chili season or football season, whatever you want to call it. It all is coming together, and I'm really excited for the tail end of this year. Now, I want to move into our actual topic for this. Is Driver Appreciation Week is right around the corner, and that's an important part for any truck driver, but it's an important part to us. And I wanted to bring it up with you, Derek, first, and just talk about driver appreciation and what does it mean to you personally to think about the appreciation that a driver deserves, and what it means as, you're in the truck often still. You're not away from that. You're leading by example many times. So you're out there not nearly as long as these guys are on the road, but what does it mean to you?
Well, it's kind of their special holiday, if you will, I guess, even though it's not necessarily a national holiday, but to us it is, just because of the fact of, it's the time to really give the appreciation for what these guys do and sacrifice. It's kind of like the military, if you will. These guys leave their families in many cases for weeks, months at a time, and don't ever get to see them, and when they do come home, it's for a short week or a weekend, and back on the road they go. So just a lot of saying thank you and the gratitude that these guys deserve because of, everything that they put in and day out. And I know just from my past experiences, as of late, driving, and I'm driving up here in no man's land, Minnesota, if you will. Traffic is heavy. That one weekend I was trucking, it was on a Sunday, and holy man, I mean, it was for up here, it was just steady traffic, and dealing with it around here, not to mention you get these guys in these major cities or south of Atlanta going down into Florida where it's 3 lanes of just chaos. There's a lot to be said. And these guys really do. I mean, you see the people cutting you off and everything else that they do to these guys day in and day out. There's a lot of frustrations there. And I give these guys a ton of credit because to be able to just keep your cool and try to maintain the professionalism and then to the safety side of it, my following distance, my just all those things that are happening day in and day out, and these guys at the end of the day, you do put in a good shift and, say you log 500, 600 miles, you're exhausted. There's a lot of mental fatigue that goes with this stuff. So it's just deep down, to say thanks to all these guys and gals that are out here day in and day out delivering and making it happen. It's pretty cool. And it's fun to see all the different things that, whether truck stops are given things to the drivers and just all the little bits and pieces everybody tries to give, or just the gratitude to say, hey, thanks for what you guys do out there, and we try to even let our customers know. So, some of the people in the shipping department will say, hey, we appreciate what you guys do, which we do here quite a bit, actually. Like you said, even just with our driver specialists and the CSRs, we really did step up to the plate here through this summer. It wasn't really a crazy summer until it feels like August, when it actually felt like a true summer business was for us. And we made a lot of stuff happen, collectively, and get a lot of people saying, hey, we really appreciate that, or hey, your guys did a really good job. And, there's a lot of appreciation that people, I should say drivers, don't really always necessarily get or realize that there is that appreciation for these guys and gals that are out there doing this grind day in and day out, keeping this country going.
Exactly. That was one of the things that I had a couple episodes back talked about as a truck driver. The appreciation, of course, we have a focused week coming up here. But the main thing is really if shippers and receivers and just even truck stops and rest, if people could be more courteous to truck drivers collectively, right? This holiday is important, as you said, right? As for a truck driver, but really we need an industry shift, and we need people to take this level of appreciation and carry it, right? Not just for 1 week. This isn't just September 14th through September 20th and we're done. This is like, hey, as I talked, drivers need restrooms. They need access to that stuff. They need to be able to park at facilities. They are humans. They can't be treated as just disposable pieces here. They need to be, respected. So a lot backing right into that of just all of the point you said in the traffic and professionalism. And it's a lot. And that kind of leads to like my next question, from your perspective, what does it take to be a truck driver in today's world?
Well, it's definitely changed from what it once was. And you can even see just the truck driver type or people that are doing it seem to be different than what it was before. But it takes a lot, one, just driving that truck in today's traffic, and even the roads that are changing. Now you see all these roundabouts and they don't even necessarily make them very truck friendly in many cases. Trying to navigate through this stuff, I forget what the technical term is, but you get into some more into the metropolitan or cities, and they're putting these bump out curbs for pedestrians. Well, you already needed every inch you could get with a truck to begin with. Now you got a curb that bumps out. There's just a lot of, I think, lack of engineering from the transportation side for trucks. Trucks haven't gotten any smaller, nor will they. We did, do our due diligence to shorten up wheelbases on the trucks just for that simple fact of the maneuverability. Obviously our trailers are 53 foot, but they aren't all the way to the rear with the closed tandems or the rear axle slide. So there are some benefits there for drivers, and it takes a lot. One, to do that. Two, a lot of these places now are really getting to the techie side of things. It's not just come in and sign your bills. It's scan this barcode and upload this on your phone, or there's just a lot of that side of it that the technology has kind of propelled
just a simple pen or scratch, sticky note doesn't get you loaded anymore. You almost have to be involved with technology through your phone or some sort of device.
Yeah, the technology side has really gotten more and more progressive, and not even just from the carrier side, but from the customer side, because everybody's paperless and wants things to happen at the snap of a finger, as far as transaction wise. And this load was delivered, boom, it's accepted in our system, it's done. Where traditionally it might take them a few days to get it all gone through and updated in their system. So I would say the biggest piece is probably more on that technology side of things from the driver's perspective. Obviously the DOT and stuff, I mean, they've really progressed and are getting on the sharper side of things too, as far as what they're looking for with trucks and, the infrared cameras for low tires. So you can't really hide just get up and go and not look at anything, because the scales, they've got ways to detect it just to see, and then with the CSA scores, they know where or what your company might be lacking in, and that's instantly what they go for, so you got to follow through with your pre-trip and post-trip and look at stuff, because they will catch you and it will haunt you, and it follows the driver, not only, not to mention the carrier.
Do you think all that technology is helping or hurting the industry as far as like the shipper and consignee side? Do you think that's obviously
making
it easier?
Coming from getting bills from drivers from 30 days of when they delivered, and not being able to invoice it because they've had it in their possession for 30 days to, okay, now we need you to overnight FedEx your slips once a week so we can get the paperwork in, to now everything's just instantaneously. It has helped.
But from a driver's perspective,
I would say it's easier. You turn your bills in, you take a picture of it and you upload it and it's done.
Well, I was talking about like shippers, you were saying barcodes and technology. How do you think that impacts the drivers?
As long as once you understand the techie side of things and get a grasp on, such as they are maybe not your old drivers that are getting ready to retire. Those guys some of them are having struggles with it, but more of our age,
newer entrants, maybe into trucking.
It's pretty simple to grasp. And from that side of things, I think it's pretty easy. I would think anyway, from a driver's perspective.
Probably helps a little bit. It's almost like, anywhere you go is kind of, like a self check-in for a shipper, right? Or here's your barcode and enter in a few digits and now you're able to get loaded. Same as almost like a Walmart or McDonald's, right? Now it's a lot of walk up to the kiosk, self-serve, get yourself ready, boom, 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 boom. And, and then it works until it doesn't, right? Until the old, process that always has worked, where it's face-to-face needs to intervene or something doesn't work, and IT's, well, we're working on it, so let's default back. But yeah, that is a good point. I never really thought of that, of like what the driver's perspective is, right? A lot of technology, a lot of, I need this information, and now I walk in and and think how many different shippers they see, right? From a driver's side, I mean, everywhere has got their own flavor of how they want to do it. Nobody's uniform, not even the states can't even get uniform from laws, let alone shippers, generalize like, hey, walk in, scan this sheet and through the process. So that is quite unique to think about how much that's changed. And that's a lot just in the last 5 years, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
It feels like when this shift has really kicked in is within the last 5 years.
COVID,
a lot of,
when it was the contactless, we're not going to have paperwork. We'll email it to you. Don't come in the office. That's when, I think
that's when it
really
forced that shift, and people invested in some different tools. And
some of it might be just due to the fact of it's a big factory and they're like, hey, we don't even want these guys in here for a safety perspective. So if we can automate this and keep them away from the danger or the harm where they don't know.
Right. Keep them in a secure area. And I've visited on sales calls. You walk into this big grand building and there's not even anybody at this desk. And you're like, okay, what's going on here? So we walk up, there's 2 iPads, kind of, on a little shelf. You scan you touch who you're trying to see, you enter in your information and it prints out literally a receipt. And then doesn't even mean you get to see this person yet. It's just like, hey, put in your information. If they want to allow you in, they'll come get you from the door.
And some of that, I think, is also just to protect from soliciting or market, it's so competitive out there and there's so many companies in every single market to where, you never get nothing done if you were to just let every person in the door like the good old days, oh, hey, come on in, let's have a cup of coffee. And, well, there wasn't as many companies then. Now it's all day, every day you're getting hit with something. So I think
how does that, do you think the drivers perceive, maybe from our side, it's if things are aligned on the back end, right? That we've scheduled your appointment and everything is set up and you walk in and scan your code or enter your code, it works. You think from a driver's side though, like they really appreciate that upgrade, like maybe a little more mobile app, or does it seem like it's just complicating the process?
I think some probably think it's better, and there's many that probably don't think it's better just due to the fact of they didn't look into it and just showed up and place is a mess. Why is this, and that's where I think everybody as a whole could do better when it comes to, the thing is now is everybody's got GPSs. So that communication, which not saying they always answer the phone either, but to find out what is your protocol before I arrive there with this truck. Cause a lot of places are very systematic. You pull in this gate, exit out of this gate. And if you pull in the wrong gate, everybody's ready to cut your head off. But now everybody punches address into the GPS and goes there and doesn't call, and I think that's one of our biggest problems is just to communicate with them and talk, and even when I talk to drivers and if they're going to be cutting it close with the hours, and the first thing I'll tell them is call there right now, talk to somebody, tell them you're coming, tell them the situation and tell them you're going to, you're running very close to their cutoff time. 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll wait around for you. Where they don't call, they get there and the guy, well, I just left 5 minutes ago. I didn't know you were coming, or I would have waited for you. So I think that's where technology has screwed things up, is GPS took over the communication line from the driver to these customers.
The connectivity. Yeah. So that's funny because that's kind of what we try to champion on, right? Is the keep trucking personal, keep that level close and understand that there's people on each end. And like you said, when there wasn't a GPS and it was a map and you mapped out, or you went in the back of the atlas and said, okay, Chicago to Minneapolis, this many miles, or Chicago to Atlanta, this. So you had to do a lot of like that homework.
Well, you would call as you wanted directions because you didn't have a GPS, so you could write it down, turn right up.
Well, and that's what led to that, right? Okay, now I know how many miles. I do a rough math. Now here's when I think I'll be there. Then you would call ahead and say, okay, how do I get to your location off of the interstate? And the funny thing is probably 5 years ago, once again, this change all kind of happened. It seemed like after COVID, a lot of people knew how to give directions into their facility. Now there's a lot of times you need to do your own homework, whether it's through Google Earth, zooming in, trying to figure out, or like you said, trying to connect, because those people say, well, I'm not really sure how to get in here. Google it yourself. So it's funny because we want everyone to connect. We want everyone to level up the communication, because honestly, with all the advancements in technology and all of the different ways our communication industry wide has gone down. And so anyone listening to this, if you want to stand out, whether you're a driver, whether you're an owner operator, or you're just on a shipper, receiver side, like communication with your carrier or vice versa, or office staff to drive, like there's just communication brings you to a tier that's low hanging fruit. It sounds so simple and almost like it's too good to be true, but that's the truth right now in this industry. If you want to stand out, communicate well. Bad news is easily delivered well in advance than it is. I should have been there at 9 and it's 11. And now I'm calling you to say I'm going to be late. Of course there's a lot of ways. How did that happen? How did we get here? And there's, almost a root cause you can go through, but really communication is number one. And that's, as a driver, the technology that's entering this market, you could see it as, simplifying, or you could see it as complicating. I don't really think there's a clear direction quite yet on which way it is.
Yeah. Communication, like you say, and I'm not saying it's all on the drivers either. I mean, even from our side of the fence, with the office side of people, communication is ultimately the number one successor to this business.
Yeah. We can set a driver up, or we can set a driver up for failure based on the office.
Failure, the customer for failure. I mean, the list just goes on and on, and it could be all the way down to, okay, we didn't communicate that we were going to be late. So now we got to the customer, nobody's there. We got to wait a day. You lost a day of revenue, to the fact of, okay, now that truck was supposed to come in the shop when he got empty. So now you just screwed up the shop. I mean, it just goes, it's a ripple effect. So
communicate early and often.
Yeah. I mean, that's for everybody in general. And I think in the end makes people's lives much easier.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, like, when I kicked off this episode, I talked about the, driver specialists and the CSRs and the momentum they've built. And it's not because I'm taking spotlight off the drivers, but I feel like that's an important part of what driver appreciation is making sure that while they're out on the road, while they're away from their family, while they're dealing with traffic that may be frustrating, they're making an earning that justifies it. They're making pay that they're satisfied with. And that's a big part of it. And I know trucking is really based on production. It's no different than a factory in some mindset, right? A driver has to be moving and moving often in order to make money. And if, we're not taking care of a driver because we're planning for him or planning ahead of him or communicating well, we're not living up to we're not setting up a driver for success. And, that's part of Driver Appreciation Week. Let's set you up for success. Let's knock it out of the park. We're a team. This is a team effort. We can't do it without you. And we need to set you up for success and communicating often. And, we're all very close to operation mindset focused, right? Our company has a lot of people that are operators in a sense that we get what it takes to move a truck, and we feel that, right? Like, I think that's one of the fun things when I think of Driver Appreciation Week, and then your leadership style, there's positional leadership, right? Like military, you're assigned rank and people respect you for that rank. And then there's relational leadership, and you're one of those relational leaderships, right? You're getting your hands dirty, your boots are tight, and you're out there with them, whether it's transferring a load or, like you had said earlier, on Sunday moving freight, or even Saturday consolidating freight, whatever it takes. But you understand that when those things aren't done right or done well, that it causes frustration for a driver. And I think that's very unique, because a lot of companies might not have that ability to say, hey, look, I understand what you're going through, and I understand it from the very beginning. Like, I hooked up to your trailer. I was the one that strapped your trailer. I looked over your tires for you. Like, I did that extra level to make sure that you were set up for success. And I think that's like down in the nitty gritty, the things that are behind the scenes that are just great. They're great to talk about, and they're great to shine a spotlight on, because it truly is focused on a driver success at that point. And, many people don't know that, right? Like, the yard might not have any trucks in it, and you're there for half a day on Saturday, just making sure things are set up for those drivers. And that's, we talk a lot about family values at Kiwi, right? We're a family owned company, came from grandpa to uncles and dad to brothers now, third generation. And, so we see values of trucking as not just a career, it's in our DNA, and it's part of who we are. How do you see family values playing out, from Kiwi Brothers to, how we operate day to day? And I know I kind of highlighted some of the values that I believe, but how do you think family values play into driver appreciation, and maybe more so the things that we do at Kiwi?
I think just the fact of that we care about each and every one of them, and how the operations are here to succeed and do all we can to make sure everybody's successful. Even when you said the transfer and stuff and doing those things, I combined some stuff for a load yesterday in the yard. There was a drop trailer, just put some stuff on there, but I was just going off of obviously my knowledge and experience to try and guess on the weights, but I knew it was going to be potentially close on the drives of the truck. And first thing this morning, I looked up to see where that truck was once again and text that driver. And I never talked to the driver once. I didn't talk to him anything about this load or anything, and just text him and said, hey, let me know, how you axle out and where your weights are. And if you have any issues, let me know. And the driver sent me their scale ticket. Everything was good. We made it by the skin of our teeth, but I knew it potentially could have been one of them things had I not said something. And they called into fleet or whomever, and they say, okay, wait till tomorrow morning. Well, now this guy's already on his way to his destination, but I wanted to give him that satisfaction to say, hey, if you got an issue, let me know. And I would have turned around and went back into work today and adjusted the load so we could get the guy going. That's our number one goal, no matter who I am or whatever my title is that these guys are driving and able to, get to their next place. Not only one, so they're earning money and happy and doing their job successfully, but two, so we deliver for the customer. It's full circle. And if you don't put that effort in, and I mean, it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You know, I might not be sitting up all night long, but there's times where you wake up at 3 a.m. to see where a truck is. Is he having any problems, or did this guy email back, or any of those bits and pieces? That those are the pieces that we take to heart from a family perspective. And I look at it as if, you know, you're looking at these people like their family, and what can I do to take care of them today to make sure we're succeeding? Obviously, we have a lot of trucks, so it's hard to give everybody the big old bear hugs per se, or feeling every single day. But there's a lot of drivers that know us and what we do, and of us and how things work, that, you know, will then tell other, oh yeah, hey, I was with the owners this weekend, we were loading a load or switching this. But even to the drivers that don't know, don't be surprised to all of a sudden, you know, get a phone call or a message from us, you know, pertaining to a load or what they're doing, helping them out, you know, whether it's, hey, here's a delivery contact for this load. I find myself doing that more. You know, there's a lot of times where you'll send it to the driver specialist or whatever, but there's other times where it's like, you know what, I know these guys are busy here. Boom, I'm just going to do this. That way it's put to bed. I know the driver got the information. And those are the pieces that I think, you know, I mean, there's not a whole lot of companies you're going to go to our size and be working with that high level of leadership. And it's just because of, we care that deeply about it and want to make sure it succeeds and enjoy. You know, that's all I've grown up doing my whole life within the company, was taking care of the drivers, making sure we're doing everything we can to keep the trucks rolling. So for me to just go, not hide in my office, but just stick to my office and not be involved in this stuff, is just,
it doesn't work for you. It's not who you are. And that's why I think this episode is going to be special. Is it's Driver Appreciation Week. We have a date. There's a time set for it. Of course, we're going to participate because we're very excited for it. But it's the deep things, like when it's not just words you pin on a wall, right? It's actions and how you do it and what the drivers see. And you said that, right? You said it best. Honestly, the drivers, many companies you go to aren't participating in every little thing to make sure that the DNA is still there, right? Like, we don't want to waver from that. We've made a commitment to stay connected and personal, and make sure that we deliver on that. That's something that goes a long way. When you think of driver appreciation, what does it mean? It's just like you said, making sure that the extra effort is put in. We're connected. Many times you're involved just because, you know, you want success. That's like the number one thing, right? You want them to be successful. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that enough times, because I talked about it a lot, that this industry really creates a office against driver mentality. And it's not just here, right? It's everywhere. It really creates that, right? They don't understand what I do. And that comes from the office to the driver, and the driver goes back to, they don't understand what I do or what I go through. And that's not the case. There may be spots where people don't know what others do, right? And that's fair, because it's just how it works. Not everybody's going to understand your job description, such as you won't understand their job description. But getting that from the leadership, the top level down, that you're out there helping side by side, you're locking arms with those drivers, and you're walking through whatever it is with them to make sure that they're set up for success, is super important. And that's just what I really appreciate about our company as a whole. A lot of people do that here. We get out there, and I sure hope a lot of companies do this, right? Like, I want to highlight that. I hope a lot of companies do this, that they get out there and they do whatever it takes to take care of the driver and, you know, be involved. And there's been many personal situations that we've helped drivers through that, you know, I can't say that many companies would do, you know, and I'm not here to brag on that. I know that we care about people, and we try to do the right thing, and we actually live the family values, not just because it's who we are and how we grew up, but our leadership style of coming beside the driver, not only, you know, to help them, but to set them up for success. So super cool that, you know, you do that every weekend. I mean, people don't see it and they don't know. And so, yeah, that's very cool that you're out there. And that's, from your perspective, a great way to set a driver up and to show appreciation, is the things you do. And a lot of times what you're doing for that driver is not just only making sure their equipment load and everything's right, but a lot of times the things that you're putting together are to make them the most money that's possible. It's almost like a scratch off ticket. They're winning the lottery. If you've touched their load and you're out there helping them, you're doing it because you want them successful. You want them to make money. You want their time away from home to be well worth it. So, you know, I know as a company, we can't say thank you more enough for that. So appreciate all that. I have a couple, like, flip it here, some light kind of questions. What was your first car?
When I got my license, it was a Ford, I think Escort ZX2. kind of a little. It was
Is that like a
it was an
souped up
Escort, but it was
Escort?
kind of a new car back then. I don't remember what year, but
Do you wish you still had it?
No, it was small. I mean, for kids, it was a really nice car. Don't get me wrong. It had a moonroof, and I think a thick,
Those are the things that some speakers maybe that were souped
disc
up
CD changer in the trunk.
in the trunk. Let's highlight that for a second. The CDs were all held in the trunk.
Yeah, there was no room in the car to have the disc
That big of
changer,
a-
so it was in the trunk. So if you were,
So you
had to have
installed that?
6 CDs. So you put your 6 in that you liked, and if you were traveling far, you had to stop and adjust on the fly. And you couldn't do it from flipping down the back seat and crawling in the trunk, because we tried that, and it was
Doesn't
where the
work.
trunk
You got to have
would hit when it would eject. So couldn't do it on the fly.
If you've got a song that every time it plays makes you think of trucking, what would it be?
Convoy.
Smoking the Bandit? Is that that's on?
I think it's C.W. McCollin or something like that is the.
Yeah. So if you hear that, you're instantly like,
oh, it's a trucking song. So
right. Yeah. That is a good one. It's funny. A lot of times you see some of those trucks down the road, and maybe you can relate that Johnny Cash, one piece at a time.
mm-hmm.
Some of those trucks you see are some of the things that we've put together, or, projects. You hear that and you're like, that sometimes brings back memories of like, just whether it's a big LTL load, one piece at a time type mindset. That's
I have to admit, I was just singing that this week or last week. As I think it was last week, but I was singing it to other employees, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, one piece at a time. Look at this thing, and me and Dad and a driver put together a heck of a load. I mean, it was a couple weeks ago, and it was pick up this piece. The driver backs up while I'm holding it so it could go underneath other stuff, because I couldn't side shift anymore with the forklift because I was up against chains. I mean, it was pretty intense, but that load was definitely a one piece at a time. And the driver got it done.
So
he did a great job with it. And I mean, it was one of them loads. It's just like, you only have so many of them, and you only do so many of those types of loads a year. And that was one of them.
That's awesome. So if there's one little piece of advice you could give your younger self, let's say fresh 18-year-old Derek, now, what advice would you give yourself?
It's a good question. I guess I started out when I was first 18, being an 18-year-old and kind of doing the whooping it up type thing a little more than I probably should have. And then once I was at around 21, kind of then turned into a working machine. And I guess I wish I would have been able to been more laser focused then, instead of losing those few years. Oh, and getting a girlfriend. You get a girlfriend, it just tosses trucking right out the window.
You can't focus through getting a relationship.
That's the 18-year-old or a boyfriend, whatever.
Oh, that's
girlfriend,
funny.
Boyfriend type thing.
You're saying focus on career and focus on a little bit of that,
like,
maybe
you're
more so than
young, and everybody thinks this is the one, and you get head over heels for it, and it seems like you pass up on so much opportunity, I think, in many cases. And you see some of the younger, and sometimes nowadays it's okay, my girlfriend's going away to college, so I'm here and I might as well just put my head down and work. And not saying everybody needs to just work, but I think if you really put your head into it and get an understanding of what's there, is it really something you want to do? But just to be able to show your worth in many cases, I think can move you up the ladder so much quicker within where you are. Once I cleaned my act up, and not that I was bad or anything, but once I really put my nose down to it, it kind of changed a lot of people's perspective. And I even see that now when you see, a younger person come in and start working, and it's like, holy man, this, I mean, just the respect and that you earn that so much quicker at such a young age. It's not you're only 18, you got till you're 35 before you're going to get anywhere in this company. And those days are gone.
Yeah.
It isn't.
If you can climb the ranks really fast with just some hard work and discipline. Right,
it's there, and it's a very lucrative industry for a blue collar job. Really, I mean, you can make very good money, and if you really put your head into it, and not just the tunnel vision either. I guess what do you got? Throw it at me. Well, I can do. What's going on? I just feel like you can really progress fast.
I can't help but laugh. You must have a cricket in your garage right now.
Yeah, we have a small cricket farm up here in the frozen tundra.
If that ain't the outback, living up north, the cricket in the background, that's awesome.
Well, trying to
good. I mean,
get away from the kids tearing me apart, so I come out here.
Yeah.
Now I got crickets. They decide to move in when it gets cold out.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, as we, look towards Driver Appreciation Week, and I just want to say this, appreciation isn't just about the words or free lunch. And I hope many of you drivers get the opportunity to capture that. I know Scales, we're part of many trucking associations, and the Scales are going to be handing out things all over the country and showing their respect, and hopefully shippers participate. And I know many carriers do special things, but to every driver listening, you are the heartbeat of this industry, and the sacrifices you make and time away from your family and the long hours and tough weather and tough roads, those are not forgotten. And we just don't want to celebrate you one week. We want to celebrate you every day in this industry. So we're super thankful that you're here. And Derek, thanks for being a part of this and sharing your thoughts. And I look forward to the next episode when we're in the deep of Truck Driver Appreciation Week and talking about what we're seeing and stories we've shared with drivers. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. And thank you all the drivers out there. Like you say, it's beyond appreciative to, there's many times where I'll take the time and efforts to get them situated, get the loads ready to go, knowing, okay, I'm going home to have dinner and go to bed. This guy's got to drive 400 miles tonight, so
yeah,
I know
when you put it in perspective, it means a lot for sure.
It's a lot. And what these guys and gals do day in and day out, and I like to say gals more and more because we keep getting more female drivers. And I'll tell you what, we have some female drivers on our roster that can go toe to toe with the best of the male drivers we got, and they can put the miles down too.
Well, statistics show they're safe. Well, female drivers safer than a male driver. So all you females out there, we're paying attention. We want you on our team.
Yeah, by all means. They're great to work with.
Till next time, keep trucking personal.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Keep Trucking Personal. We appreciate you taking the time to explore the heart and soul of Kiwi Brothers Trucking with us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to let us know your thoughts. Tune in next time as we continue our journey together, diving deeper into what makes us a community, a catalyst for positive change, and a home for those who aspire to be part of something truly extraordinary. Until then, keep trucking, and we'll catch you on the next episode.